Celebrating 20 years of creating change, Fathers Support Center St. Louis has made a positive impact on the lives of nearly 15,000 fathers and made a difference for 40,000 children. Here to tell us more is the president of that organization, Halbert Sullivan. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Number one, I'm doing fine. Congratulations on 20 years.
Well, thank you for that, but we owe that to the St. Louis community.
Why is that?
Well, as a nonprofit, you are supported by charitable donations, and our community has supported us for these 20 years. Fatherhood, the field of fatherhood, had a very rough patch back around 2000 across the country, and other agencies that had opened up in 97, 98, they were folding because government funding got cut. But here in St. Louis, this community, not only did we stay in business, but we grew. So I thank the St. Louis community for our work.
There must have been a good reason for that, though. Your backstory is interesting, kind of what brought you to this point, what brought you to founding this organization 20 years ago. You were not in a good place. And you woke up one day in 1993 at a bus stop and it wasn't where you lived. Can you tell us what led to that and what was going on with you?
Well, my story, I'm a recovering drug addict and I'm an ex-con. My last time to the penitentiary, they gave me life. And when I managed to get an appeal on that sentence and I was going to turn things around. Well, it didn't work out like that. I began to use drugs. And in 1993, I was at one of the lowest points. I had been put out of my home. And I went on a drug binge. I was living in St. Peters. I went on a drug binge for about 3 weeks. Woke up one Sunday morning on a bus stop bench. I slept on a bus stop bench in front of Beaumont High School. Beaumont is located at Vanda and Natural Bridge. Not a real good place to be sleeping. So over the years, it was 11 years prior to that I had decided to stop using drugs, and I couldn't get it stopped. I'm a man. I can handle this on my own.
Right. You don't need any help, right?
Don't need any help. People have been telling me that I needed some help. Well, when I woke up on that bench, I said, I'm going to get some help. And so my sister and other family members, they got me into drug rehab in 93. And thank God I stayed for 30 days. Last July 27th, I celebrated 25 years clean and free from drugs and alcohol. But when I left the rehab center, the next day I went to Forest Park Community College. A goal of mine was to give something back to the community because during the criminal activities and drug use, I had been a terror in my community. Along my journey, I made a conversion to accept God in my life. You know, God is very, very, very powerful in my world. So I was going to be a drug counselor. Well, along the way, the chair of the Human Services Department convinced me to be a social worker. And along with that conversion, I thought about substance abuse. During my period of going back and forth to NA meetings, and I was going in and out of rehab centers to work with other people, I saw a lot of people relapsing. They relapsed too quick. At that time, man, I wanted to save the world from substance abuse and other ugly activities, and so that wasn't going to work. I decided to work with kids, be a school social worker. And that's the road that I traveled up until end of 96, beginning of 97, when I got on this track to create this Father Support Center. But one led into the other. As a school social worker, this idea for this center was not my idea. It was two ladies who thought that St. Louis could benefit. And I had told these two ladies no. Because of my background, here I'm working in the schools, I'm okay, I'm doing what I want to do, work with kids. You know, I had a great life, man. I had good rules and regulations in my home, moral value in my home, do homework, yes sir, no sir. I made bad decisions right around the age of 14 and 15, so I wanted to work with kids so they don't make these decisions, and that's what I was working at.
And you felt like you were successful at it?
Oh, I was very successful at it. I mean, as a school social worker, I had 3 schools, and the principals would always bring me kids, and I was always able to keep them in school and keep them moving on a positive track. Well, when these ladies brought me this idea, I told them no. They didn't have no money. They didn't have a 501c3. They didn't have no methods, no strategies. All you guys are idea. I got some of them too. I ain't quitting my job. Well, working with the youth in the urban settings, I began to see a lot of what occurs as a result of fatherlessness. Fatherlessness impacts the majority of the negatives that occur in our urban and or rural community. Impoverished families, high school dropout, substance abuse, juvenile delinquency, as well as teen pregnancy.
And so that's what your organization is fighting, and we're going to pick up on that right after this break and talk more specifically about what your organization does, okay?
Thank you.
We're going to learn more about the Father Support Center St. Louis right after this break.